Hello, I'm Shar, and welcome to Living as Is. 2 years ago, I find out I'm neurodivergent. My immediate response? What does this mean? I wasn't looking at neurodivergent and then thinking, what does this mean? No, I did my research on autism and neurodivergent, and so much of what I came across in forums and research matched my life. No. My question, what does this mean? I related to being self-aware and awake. How do I bring the understanding of being neurodivergent into self-awareness and awakening? So here I'm doing what apparently I've always done. Ask questions. And here we are attempting to break the shell of another question. I did actually spend 1 or 2 weeks trying to get the grey cells around this one. Until it hit me, I wasn't quite asking the right question. And then we have, oh, bloody hell. And I realised I'm most definitely arse about face. I am so much very wrong way round with this question. And it comes from the fact that for the previous 54 years of not knowing I'm neurodivergent. So I kind of looked at it from thinking I'd been the same as everybody else, and now all of a sudden I was neurodivergent. No, it doesn't work that way at all. This has been the life of a neurodivergent. And I've learnt to use the language of Advaita Vedanta and on into the language of self-awareness and awakening. So I am a neurodivergent that is self-aware and awakening. I don't need to put anything into anything. I'm already present within. So now, 2 years down the line, and digging into the work of Milton, Hape, and Bogdashina, as well as many others that crossed my sight, just to prise open this mind of mine. There is a seeing of something which is creating a massive difference to my understanding of self-awareness and awakening. In fact, it's created a massive change in the way I perceive self-awareness and awakening. What I'm aiming to stress here has nothing to do with the everyday fundamentals, not at all. That eggshell has already been cracked by many a professor, doctor, and they've clearly shown what the fundamentals are and what the difference is. I'm not doing that. What I'm aiming at, I believe you have that one, at self-awareness and awakening. Within, there's awareness of rasa, essence of emotions. To a certain extent, even perceiving that faint glimmer of emotion rising. If you check out the video up above, there I've explained rasa a little bit more. Thank you. In the perceiving of an emotional autistic trigger, which I sense within my gut, here I'm unable to stop the emotion, and there's a feeling of being carried along by it. Whereas with rasa, this definitely feels like it's carrying a choice. Stop, carry on. Stop, carry on. Now, I look at this and I'm thinking, perhaps in the deepening within self-awareness, within awakening, there will be an expanse of awareness. I think about that, but I don't apply it. And that's because as I came into the language of non-duality, I had placed in front of me by a teacher, awareness is just awareness. So there's no levels. There's nothing to go deeper into. There's nothing to dig into. It's more like the deepening is an expansion of what is already present, of what already is. One thing to consider. What if we close off this open sense of awareness in childhood? In attempting to learn and grow, barriers are slowly put up by the individual, by themselves. I hold a couple of thoughts to this, and one is there's a shut-off to the incoming information, and the other, that the ability to know self, sense self, be aware, doesn't actually arrive until the individual is older. Which, from my perspective, we would be looking at what we already are aware of and growing by adding what is seen now through a bio-neuro-sensory system, ourselves. One last thought. I feel there are neurodivergents already with this self-aware awareness. But language, it's a massive stumbling block sometimes. One person's sense and feeling is not another person's. And I also don't hold the attitude of being a neurodivergent and sitting on a high horse claiming I can teach you what you already have an understanding feeling towards. The ability to feel, to hold an awareness of not self, but you hold it with your language. For myself, there's no stopping in searching, no stopping in asking questions, and not being academically trained, holding no degrees. I'm not attempting to make this anything other than just me, interpreting a world of sensations and feelings with a few words from teachers, guides, professors, psychologists, and a life of experience in the spiritual field. I grew up with the feeling anyone could do what I could do. Seeing of words and actions before they took place, the ability to read a person, address their actions. Transmediumship was a big one for my childhood. Sinking within and feeling as if I was a part of something bigger. The ability to sink within, I've always viewed as an everyday thing for people. And then when I grow older, when I get older, and people around me are talking about hugging trees, I just think, why not? They do have a pulse. That's the trees, by the way, not the people. But I think you knew that. Your mind, our minds, they're a cacophony of thoughts. A place you can get lost within trying to work out one thought from the other. Throw in your overly sensitive feelings and sensations, the mix can be muddied, and you also may become a little lost. However, with effort, focus, and a bit of time, you can learn to control self and be still. You may even stretch it far enough to say a neurodivergent with this could even generate a theory of self, of mind, and being in the world. The human mind is something else, and I totally go with it being able to perceive all that happens around it. In Buddhism, I was instructed the eyes see, the ears hear, tongue tastes, nose smells, skin feels. I was being taught the body's senses operate, whether you're paying attention to them or not, which would mean you're taking information through the senses all the time until you're not. If we take into account the human mind may shut itself down to stop overloading, where does the person that is unable to shut down their mind live? A neurodivergent can walk into a room and see a stain on the carpet, the fraying edges of the same carpet, a picture sitting on the wall slanted, one window missed in the cleaning, and it's the smallest, a full coffee cup with a drip running down the side. The host's zipper is down. The host's left shoe has a scratch across the top. They eventually notice the host is still holding their hand out, waiting for them to shake it. But that thought hasn't made it into their minds. I wonder why. What I'm looking towards is the missing trigger. This missing overload trigger may stop a neurodivergent from overloading. So, does the neurodivergent step back into the not self they discovered whilst playing as a child? Consider for a moment the neurodivergent comes into the world with a sense of awareness. Not self-awareness, just awareness. After all, there is a belief that spiritual teachers can be born in the world already aware. Why not everyday folk? Why not autistics? I accept in the Buddhist teachings I received, information can still be recorded, just maybe not brought to the surface and of being seen. If an autistic doesn't have the overload trigger, then takes on board all information and draws this information into self, I'm saying the more analysis that is brought to self, the more self-aware the individual is able to become. Myself, for instance, up to 18 years old, constantly asking questions. How can I see what I can see? Do what I can do? How am I able to interpret actions of others? Moving into alternative fields, healing, clairvoyance, mediumship, transmediumship, information appears to be completely open to myself. All this seeing and interpreting is being brought within to self once again. Now we move from my 18-year-old to my 30s, using all information that I gather and increasing my self-awareness. I'm then entering a period of time where I start to receive counseling and more information dissecting me. I'm taking it apart, putting it back together again, putting it together within. Self grows, self-awareness apparently increasing, but not increasing. I'm just stepping into the already open pool of awareness. The same can be happening with any other neurodivergent. Any that are questioning and drawing this wealth of information into themselves, they are becoming more and more aware. Yet all they're doing is deepening within the pool of awareness that already is. I struggled with belief systems, with religions and belief systems. I couldn't quite get the language and follow them. However, when I come to Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, it felt strange, weird even. Excuse me. It was because I felt as if I had a choice. And I was already a part of this non-duality, of this oneness. I was already within it. The language used, it really felt as if it didn't point to myself, which meant I needed to digest, take apart, digest, and then take apart again. 4 years of study on non-duality, a constant taking apart to analyze and redo, until my aha moment and the doors open. Unfortunately, also opening up to questions. Why do it that way? Why say it that way? No, that doesn't make sense. There was a time when a spiritual teacher said he was going to change something. He was going to take it from the Buddhist and move it into the Christian. In his own words, he was going to create something different. I am sitting there, watching the video, listening to everything that's being said, totally bemused, because all that he changed, words, language, from Buddhist to Christian. Nothing else shifted. Concepts were the same. Basic level principles appeared the same. All I can say in that moment was bizarre. Where the mind is taking me, self-awareness may actually be more readily available to the neurodivergent for one simple reason. The neurodivergent is missing that overload trigger. Therefore, more information has been reaching them. One thing to consider, the missing overload trigger could also mean a difficulty in analyzing self-awareness, as far too much information is coming in. Meditation for neurodivergence may also be slightly harder, because shutting down the information that's incoming could take more time. But, oh, I love this one. The neurodivergent could step back into their place of peace, their place of not self, sinking within. As this, in itself, is meditation. To use language, if all disappears, no thoughts, words, images, nothing, a sinking into nothingness. Can we be saying the neurodivergent has found samadhi? It's a possibility. However, let's slam the brakes on here. Let's break. A stopping point for anyone to consider. I've spoken with many people that state they find it too hard to sit with themselves, to sit, contemplate, or sit and empty the mind. It becomes either an impossible task or an almost impossible task. Because of whatever is going on within, there simply is no sitting with themselves. Which could mean putting aside any understanding to the presence or lack of an overload trigger. My point to self-awareness is that due to the neurodivergent taking on more information, if they are able to step back, analyze, and view this information towards a self-learning, this can mean there are far more self-aware neurodivergents. If anything I've come across so far, I'd say due to lack of understanding, and I'm putting this down to language, due to lack of understanding being placed in the hands of a neurodivergent, they may not even be aware of this awareness. And that can be because they're using their own individual language and not some programmed or trained group language which says you have to call it this or you have to call it that. Many years ago, in a debate with a philosopher, they quoted from Descartes or Descartes. Sorry, pronunciation. Anyway, they quoted, "I think, therefore I am." To which my immediate response, "I am. The fact I think is irrelevant to my existence." Could there be an aware sense of awareness within a neurodivergent without the thought process or knowing of any understanding being placed in their field of knowing? And the answer I hold for that one, yes. Thank you for being a part of, once again. Thank you for listening to the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you for all the clicks. And subscribe. And come on, click the like and the notify. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Come on, join in. Thank you once again. Blessings to you all.